everyone. So excited to see all of you here. This is a 2-day accelerator. We've been running these accelerators for a while now, and now this one specifically for prompt writing and ChatGPT. Everyone's been hearing about ChatGPT. I know lots of you probably been testing, and so we'll talk more about ChatGPT, but in general, prompt writing and the anatomy of prompt writing, things that worked or didn't work for us, for you, and if you have any experience with that, feel free to drop it in the chat as well and share it with everyone. This is a 2-day session. Today is going to be all about prompt writing and ChatGPT, and tomorrow we're going to have something in store for you too. Yes, ChatGPT is powerful, and in general, you probably use so many other tools as well, but there are some limitations. So today we're going to talk about all the powerful things, and then tomorrow we're going to talk about limitations and how to overcome them. It's going to be really helpful for us to know a little bit about you. Tell us, how many of you have tried playing with prompts and ChatGPT? How many of you are completely coming here for the first time? Your feeds have been flooded with everything ChatGPT related, and you're like, okay, I need to check out what it is. So where are you? Which spectrum? Some of you tried it extensively. Some of you, Paul, I use it more than Google, Janine says. All right, first timer. Okay, we have Hillary, ChatGPT virgin. We have lots of people using it daily, some advanced. Okay, so there's a mix. It looks like this session is going to be, I cannot read fast enough everything that you put in there, but amazing. Okay, so some of you said love it. Any of you that partially love it, or there's like lots of things that you don't like it? So just put it in the chat how excited and satisfied you are with everything that ChatGPT is giving you, or versus how many of you are trying to make a better use of it, trying to find like what else. Is that it? Has limitations, often lies. Andrew says love it. Text length, it's okay. Diana says it's not smart as outranking. All right, who was that? Kevin, Crypto Guy News. I love you. Thank you so much for that. Awesome. I think we are good to go. We now have a pretty good feel for you guys, and we're going to kick off a session today. The sessions both today and tomorrow are going to be recorded. Everything is going to be shared, so the slides are also going to be shared with you. Awesome to have all of you here. Let's kick it off, Uncle.
Sounds good. Welcome, everyone. Good to have you over here today. All right, so this is day one. Who we are, just wanted to give a brief introduction of what Outranking is. My name is Pankil, and just heard Natalie, and we represent Outranking. It's an AI-powered platform to create SEO content with AI assistant. Not using AI, we're using AI assistants. So, okay, and agenda. I wanted to get quickly into the agenda. What are we going to do? Why are we doing this? And how are we approaching this problem? So what is it like? So the entire course is about how to effectively craft AI prompts for SEO content. We're going to be specific to SEO content, which is going to be a major area which is going to see shifts from upside down. We want to make sure that everyone using this conversational new method of either creating content, or some call it researching content, or some call it creative writing, right? Or email writing, or whatever that is, how to effectively craft a prompt for SEO content is a little different than all the other creative parts. Well, SEO content is consists of this creative writing, and it also consists of this factual writing, which is research writing altogether. So it's slightly a little different than when you're writing a post for social media, where you're giving it a little context and asking it to create some creative ways of putting this post on social media. So it's a bit different there. The context is so less that you can easily verify it. It goes through tons of proofreading and a process of evaluating whether it makes sense to the audience or not, whether it's factual. You don't really need to test that because it's like a couple of sentences. All of that works very fine. But when it comes to long form content, where a notion that something generated is good enough to post it, but then you realize that one sentence makes you not credible, right? So there's a bunch of different things that go into play when you're creating SEO content. So we want to teach you how to effectively craft prompts so that you can create this type of content better than most of your competitors out there. Okay, why are we doing this? Avoid mediocre content. Well, this is the very first thing. Like having access to ChatGPT or many of the other AI tools. What's that going to lead to? It's going to lead to floods and floods of content on Google, right? What's that going to lead to? Google taking some precautions and actions to make sure that these guys don't make it up there, right? You don't want to be that guy. So if you're using AI now, and this is going to be the quorum for the next, decade, right? Like where you're using AI as an assistant, you want to ensure that you put best practices into place. And this can be done through creative prompt writing to avoid this mediocre type of content. Then the second is, well, you avoided mediocrity, okay, but then how do you add value, right? Like some things and some opinions and some information that only you have, but you want AI help to help you craft this information into something that makes sense to the audience and will read well and will be informative and convey the right bits of information. And the third is aligning it with SEO best practices. Because you're creating this prompt, and let's take an example of ChatGPT. You take this prompts over there and you create a prompt for an outline, or you create a prompt to write an introduction paragraph. As an SEO, you would know that outlines cannot be just created by creative thinking, right? Like it's going to require a thorough understanding of intent and how users are mentioning certain things and how you bring that expertise and research into place and create an outline that makes sense. So you want to do all of these things while doing this prompt writing, and you can really do that to a certain extent, right? And we are going to teach you in this course how you address all these three issues and how do you create a prompt that will give you exactly what you are trying to convey or write for the readers. And how we're doing this is just two-part. This is the two-part session. And the first one is learning the basics of effective prompt writing. And then the second day, we're going to address some challenges that come along with writing with AI and how you can mitigate those risks and how you can create content using these prompts in factual and value-added manner. Okay, so day two is going to be really advanced. You need an understanding of how to work with prompts and things like that. So that's what we're going to cover today. And then that will get into really hashing that out, using some techniques that you learned today and combining that and creating something even more powerful. And at the end of that session, you'd learn what skills do you need in order to feed the right kind of inputs so that it can give you actually the kind of output that you need. Okay, now, getting into the quick capabilities of GPT, it can read previous text, right? And elaborate just a little bit on that, because many of you are working with many other AI tools that claim that it can read up to 3,000 words above. But is that really great for the output and the desired outcome that you want from that prompt that you're going to be crafting, right? Like you want certain information out of the text that it's trying to read. Now, just step back for a second. And if you were to read 20 pages of a book, and then I was to ask you a question that where the answer belonged in the very first page versus an answer that belonged in the 20th page, which one would you have remembered quicker, right? Like the one that you just read, 20th page, right? So the more further you go, the lesser and lesser my abilities get into understanding complex concepts and making sense of all these things tied together, right? So you need to strike a balance. Like, don't complicate things for any other AI tool, and don't think that this. I mean, it can read like infinite amount of information. For now, it can read a certain amount of text, and you want to limit yourself from like really pushing the boundaries of that and going 3,000 characters and be like, oh, why is it not talking about the first sentence right there? So understanding that limitations is very important. But yes, ChatGPT can read up to 3,000. I'd say keep it under 2,000 for better research capabilities and better understanding of the facts and how you want to write about the instructions. The second is conversational input. Conversational input are easier to write. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's picking up, like why people want to write these prompts in conversational way. I'm not saying that you cannot write prompts other way. I could literally be giving it specific instructions in form of a bullet, and my last bullet could be empty, and it'll still give me based on those patterns, right? So it's not conversational input; it's more robotic, and it's more AI training type database input. But a conversational input is when you just like conversing with it, right? Hey, can you help me do this? Can you help me write this? Can you help me build this table? Can you generate an image for me, right? Like things like that. But it's asking, it's like having a conversation with it. Whether there is an actual person out there or not, right? It's not important, but you're just having a conversational with AI to give you the right kind of output. Third thing that I've seen many people talk about, and I don't know where they get this notion from that I connected with the internet and GPT gave me this. It cannot connect to the web. It's trained till 2021. It has a lot of data, not all the data, and it can interpret some, concepts that it has read and give you interpretations of that based on your input. So it's good for ideation when it comes to this collective knowledge that it has gathered up till 2021 from a few sources of information out there. Not all sources, a few sources, right? So understanding those limitations will allow you to understand that what type of concepts it cannot talk about very easily, right? How you can use external or other methods to influence this research when you're writing information with ChatGPT. So it cannot research the web, because it cannot research the web, and it does not have it's not a database type of a model where all the files and everything is saved so that they knows that which sentence was used from where. There's so many permutations, combinations that get rewritten, the complexes get the concepts get mashed when they're written right from the source information. So there's lots of things happening in the backend. It's impossible for ChatGPT in the current state without certain, improvements on top of it or other tricks to give you those source information. You can go past some of these limitations, right? The more input you gave it. So the more human you are and the more explanation you provided, it can mitigate some of this risk. And we'll even look into those as well. It can talk about things very confidently which are like utter garbage, which utter true, like nonsensical, right? It will talk as if it knows this like inside out, and it truly believes in it, right? Make you believe in it. This isn't often the case, and this makes you lose credibility, right? So you want to understand these limitations and mitigate this, some manual, some with tricks and tips that we'll teach you in this session. Okay, so let's start this with what is prompt writing. It's the very basic definition. Prompt is a set of instructions in a natural or conversational format to instruct an AI to generate text. And this is the most basic example that's listed over there, like write types of temporary housing facilities in form of an unordered list, right? And this is a very basic example. And I think most of us start there to give us a list of something or to write a paragraph. I think the most basic one and the other garbage one is write a blog post for me in 1,000 words. And oh my God, it did this in 1 second. Yeah, we've seen many of those. Those are very simple prompts and they are not effective prompt writing. They'll get you started, they'll get you start thinking about how you can engineer this text that you've just written so that it can give you more specific details and better outputs. The purpose of prompt writing is like it's creative writing, right? Which is most difficult if you think about this. Everybody can do the research, but without a certain extent of knowledge and experience in the field of copywriting, you can't really copyright up till now, right? Now you can copyright it, provided you have the research, you can feed that in and you can say, write a creative copy around it, and it's totally fine, right? So this is cutting a lot of time, but this creative writing, it comes with this burden of knowing how to craft a prompt so that it can give you this creative type of writing. Then the second is overcoming writer's block. Many times we just want it to give us some ideas so we can start elaborating, adding our thoughts, and then taking it into the direction that we want. In-depth research. This is one of the very least explored areas. And no, I'm not talking about the research like where you ask it to give you a features of, let's say, HubSpot or MailChimp, and it gave you 6 features. No, that's not research. That's crap information that's not validated, taken from what sources, and it's probably not current. So that's not research, but you can go and use some tricks to do in-depth research and extract this research to write around it using prompts as well. Then content structure, you can build better content structure if you have proper prompts, right? And it will flow naturally with how the reader should perceive this information and how you want to present this information rather. And the last part is transforming data. This is very important because many of you might know with this concept. Many of you know the concept where people are writing again and again from search engine ranking pages. So essentially, the content that you create is, sorts of bits and pieces of what's put together from SERP data. So how do you create value added content is by transforming that data. You have this tons and tons of data, probably 20, 30, or 50,000 words on SERPs, right? You can analyze and you can transform that data to write something even better if you know how to effective prompt writing. Okay, getting to this, the main characteristics of an effective writing prompt: clarity and specificity. I want to be as clear as possible, and I want to be as specific as possible. So you want to be as specific as possible, but you can't really be very specific. So let's say you are creating a brief, and in this brief you've written, write an introduction for a blog post about 10 best things to do in Madrid, Spain. Well, the outcome of that instruction could be various, many things, right? Someone might include statistics. Someone might just craft something that just hooks the audience but lacks evidence and any support at all. So the outcomes are so many if your instructions are so vague, right? This is the difference between a good prompt and a bad prompt, right? So clarity and specificity is like, if you keep this at the heart of every prompt that you craft, you will get so good at it that you will be able to generate exactly what you want every time out of AI without much experimentation. I think that's where you'd save the most amount of time, because getting hands on these tools and running it a zillion times to get what you want is not something that you want to be after, right? Like, you want to master the skill of how to write a prompt with clarity and specificity, so that you save time on not running the prompt 1,000 times versus running it once, getting what you want, and running with it. Should be specific enough to guide the writing process, but not too specific that it restricts its creativity. This is a very fine line. You can play around on either side of the lines, right? And you'll get a very good understanding of where do you stand in terms of that strictness. Right? Where do you want to restrict it early, and where you do not want to do it. We'll look at some examples of that as well. What is an anatomy of a good writing prompt for SEO? Now, these are some specifics to only SEO. Okay, just SEO we're talking about. So it's purpose, argue, persuade, compare, argumentation. You write those type of passages because you're leading someone into a solution, right? Like, you write process analysis. When you are stating why you should do certain thing, you're writing argumentation, or you're arguing for it, right? Or when you are selling a product or service, right, really trying to persuade the audience into buying your service, right? So audience, a well-defined target audience, super important. And we'll see some examples like how well, if you craft a prompt with a few more words, right, and provide additional context about audiences, how well it can do in incorporating some of those elements into your content that's written. We'll also go through that. Tone is absolutely essential, like personalization, how you are going to be talking about it. If you're a busy mom and you're all on the go, you want to sprinkle some of those essential elements into the content when you're writing it. I've met a few people who just likes repeatedly doing a curse word in every sentence that they write. So you can replace that with the emojis or whatever star symbols. But the point is that everyone's going to have a tone, and the more personalized it is, the better content and better lookalike content that you'd get to what you'd potentially write. And context, background or context is going to be the key if you are going to mitigate some of the risks that come along with using ChatGPT or any other AI tool, right? Like, the more context you give it, the lesser are the chances of an AI to give you false information. It'll try to write around the context, right? So the more context it has, the better it is able to tie in the concepts and help you come up with this creative writing. So context is a key. Question or statement. If you write a question, then the answer is as concise as possible. Not saying it will give you everything, but writing a question will give you that specific answer that you'd want. A question is the easiest way to invoke any sort of a response from AI that's meaningful. So you just ask a question and it gives you an answer. AI loves answering questions all day long. Look at some examples of how all of these plays out into some of the basic examples that we'll look at going further. Okay, and it is actually a lot of work, but to use magic, like many of us think, like that we've got the magic in our hand and we'll create like thousands of blog posts overnight and probably be millionaires tomorrow. Not going to happen. But any sort of magic, you need to learn the tricks. And if you are going to be using these tools, you need to learn how to use them. Okay, a quick background on what type of prompts are there, and then we'll get into the prompts. Title generation, meta description generation, outline generation, intro generation, right? Simple passages. Then we get into the actual writing part where there are so many nuances, like different types of products, different types of information ingested. You're combining data sources and putting things together and coming up with something that's like phenomenal and well researched is what 7, 8, 9, 10, and so forth will cover. That's the second part of it, right? But till we get there, we need a very good understanding of how to do this prompt writing and what should be the best practices in getting there. All right, so let's start with title, description, simple prompts. And I have OpenAI open, so we'll look at that and take some live examples as well. But it's not always available, right? So I have this screenshots and everything that I've built out over here, which we'll go through, and then we'll jump into ChatGPT if we have time. But all right, so title. Right, 5 title ideas for blog about things to do in Madrid, Spain. And there's a description. Write a meta description for a blog about things to do in Madrid, Spain. Like very simple, right? But not effective at all because it doesn't consist of a lot of things that you'd want in an SEO title or an SEO description, right? So this is basic and it does the work if you are okay going the extra miles and finishing it off, right? Adjusting some words or keywords in it or adjusting the length and all this other requirements that you have. But as you get good at this, an effective prompt should be something like this. 5 title ideas for a blog about things to do in Madrid. This is that particular prompt, and this is what it gave me, right? So 5 title ideas, and it gave me a description. It's great, works in most cases, but not SEO optimized. So a more effective prompt for writing an SEO description would be something like this. Write a meta description for a blog about things to do in Madrid, Spain, in 120 characters or less using the given keywords. And I literally gave it keywords, right? And you can see that it's not even formatted that great, right? I didn't add a new line to it. I just told it in a conversational manner that I would essentially speak to someone. Still gave me what I wanted with those keywords inside it. Now I restricted its creativity by 120 characters, but if I was to go to 200, it can give me quite a few variations, right? Which resides between this range of 200, right? So you can play with this. But the point is for SEO content, you're going to need to ingest data in to get the kind of output that you want. And that is still mandatory research. Okay, now let's go and look at the outlines. Now, this is the most debated one. Now, when you're writing about creative topic that only it's like literally like creative or lifestyle in nature, right? And it could literally go into any direction, or maybe it's thought leadership kind, right? This trick works very well. But for SEO outlines, you need to step into the advanced moves in order to get that data in. Right. So let's look at this. Right? So write an outline for a blog about top 10 things to do in Madrid. Very easy. It's gonna list me those top 10 things, right, with an introduction in place. Right? It works great, but are those 10 things the things that I really want? Like, I don't know. So now you have a problem. Now you've got an outline that looks great, but it means nothing to you because it doesn't encompass the SEO signals and the data and the information that you want with it. So what you're going to do is you're going to adjust this outline a little bit out, and you're going to do this. Write an outline with 10 headings for a blog about the top 10 things to do in Madrid using meta description and the keyword. So I gave it a little more context. I said, now I have the meta description and I have the keyword, and can you go and create me an outline? This worked out pretty well. It started helping me build out this outline using this keywords and the description that I gave it, right, in the culture and experience of the city has to offer. So it's going into the museums and histories and significance of what things to do around that park or whatever that is, right? So I added more context and keywords and specifying the headings that you want, right? Just a little bit maybe. Okay, and we'll look at even more extensive example of this outline when we get into the advanced session, right, and how you can really guide this outline and the roadmap of your content creation. But to serve as a benchmark, start experimenting here and see what ChatGPT gives you. It'll most likely not give you facts, right? For sure. But if you'd give it context and the research that should go behind building this out, it will do a good job. Okay, this is going to be very interesting. So, write a 5 sentence introduction for a blog about 10 things to do in Madrid, Spain. Very simple, right? Everybody can do this. And everybody's potentially doing this, right? Like, but why this is a bunch of garbage, right? You take this and you put it into any of the AI detectors, right? It will be recognized as AI in every editor. because your prompt is so general. It doesn't provide any insights, having no idea whatsoever what merit is, why am I even writing this, who am I writing it for, like etc etc. Like there's no background information to do a good job at writing this detail. And this is where a writer used to come in place. If they'd go and find the true intent behind why they're actually even writing this content, they'll bring this in together with the research that they've done, and then they'd write around it. So now, how do you get better at this? Let's look at this. A more effective prompt would be write a 5 sentence introduction for a blog about 10 things to do in Madrid, Spain, for a family of 4 visiting Madrid on a summer vacation. Okay, I'm telling you that I'm going there for summer. I'm going there for this activities, and I'm taking my family with it, right? Like this is the right persona that I'm talking about. Now you can see that it will start talking about the outdoor adventures, summer vacations. It's talking about the family, more personalized, right? This is just one example. Now let's look at a second one here. Even better example than what we just showed you, right? Like this is how you'd get into active experimentation of building an effective prompt. Now, this third example is also for an introduction, but it's providing a lot more context. Like I've provided as much context as the actual introduction. But if I was to write this introduction myself, it would take me time in crafting the sentences and putting this thing together. But I gave it a conversation. I told it to write 5 sentence introduction for a family of 4 visiting Madrid on summer vacation. Use attraction park Madrid, Spain keywords in the first 2 sentences. This is great. Madrid, Spain, attractions, parks in the first 2 sentences. Then I asked it, mention statistics on how many people visit Madrid every year in the introduction. And it wrote over 6 million visitors every year. This information might not be correct. This is not factual information. We did not feed it the facts. We did not feed in the statistics. So we don't know if this is true or not. And this is what hallucination is. We can lie with confidence. And I'm 100% guaranteeing that this might not be true as it stands today. So it's up to you to go figure that out. But this is what an effective prompt looks like. You're doing like tons of work, and that's why I said, right, like it's still learning the art of how crafting a prompt is all that it's going to come down to when it comes to writing going further, right? Like the faster you're able to craft this informational and conversational prompts, the better, the faster you'll get copyrighted material out there. Okay, so this is much more specific, and this is something that you can work with, add a few more details and go from there. Now, simple writing prompts. So now we've done the introduction, and you are getting into the actual body of the content. That's what you're doing. Now, there's various types of prompts that you're going to write. Understanding where you can use some simple ideas and where you can use some more complex ideas is what's all it's going to come down to. That's part of the skill that you'll have to achieve if you want to learn prompt engineering. So a simple prompt looks like write a definition of content marketing. A complex with more guidance prompt looks like write a definition of content marketing with statistics about how effective content marketing is and a brief explanation of how businesses use content marketing 2023. Right? So I'm still asking it to build the same information, but this is what simple looks like and this is what complex look like. So this is just a little complex, and we'll get to some really advanced ones tomorrow. But a complex looks something like this with more precise information going in to get more precise output. Argumentation. So, okay, write an argumentation why TikTok is rising in popularity as a preferred content marketing platform, right? This is what an argumentation looks like, and it's a simple prompt. So now I'm taking you through a journey where you understand what is okay, what is good, what is great, and then we'll be ready for what's about of what we are about to throw at you guys for some advanced prompt. So, okay, this is okay. Like it will write me an argumentation of why TikTok is rising in popularity as a preferred content marketing platform. Great. It can give me that paragraph that supports an argument that I'm trying to make with the sentence. But let's look at this. What is better, right? Like, so good is write an argumentation about why TikTok is rising in popularity as a preferred content marketing platform with statistics and evidence supporting the argument. Well, if I'm making an argumentation, why not support it with statistics and evidence? Right? Now, what could be even better if you are trying to personalize this? Like it's missing the persona. Who am I writing it for? Will this resonate? So I could write TikTok and I could write statistics and I could target this to millennials, or I could target it to a bunch of different types of personas. So what is great? Great is this. Write an argumentation about why TikTok is rising in popularity as a preferred content marketing platform with statistics evidence supporting the argument. I said, write the argumentation to convince an e commerce business to explore TikTok for promoting their products aimed at millennials. This is very specific. And the worst part about this being great at this is that you'd still need to bring some knowledge in. You'd need to know that this is how you're going to position the content. And some of those skills writers still like writers have, copywriters have, or researchers have, right? So you're still needing those skills, but you can use this along with your skills to do some amazing stuff if you know how to do prompt engineering. Okay, so this is where we're going to end this first session for the simple type of prompt writing. And this, like, we've covered up till a point where you can go and start experimenting and doing at least 10, 15, 20 prompts till tomorrow, right? And then it comes tomorrow, and we're going to teach you something like this: how to do pros and cons writing. And I'm not talking about generic pros and cons that you extract from ChatGPT and just create some random stuff out of it. I'm talking about research driven pros and cons that are hidden in user generated information and how you can use that to transform that data. Yes, you can do all of these in outranking. Then the second is writing ordered and unordered list. And we'll do some really creative in ordered and ordered list, right? When you are writing, let's say, things to do in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you want to list types of attractions, and then you want to list attractions in each type, right? So you're building three unordered list, right? With one prompt with different sets of instructions. So we'll understand how you can really build this creative prompt so that it gives you exactly what you want, how you want it, and build out the entire section based on those arguments. Okay, writing how to write process analysis. This, like, anyone who's writing how to's on products, on using a certain product, right? Many of those kind of stuff, then process analysis type of prompts are going to come in handy. And then this is the most obvious one: service and product type descriptions, right? Many of you have like local pages, or you're an agency for local businesses and you want to write these descriptions. How you can do this: paragraphs with roadmap, right? Chronological order of events and how you position them and how you extract that information and write around that. Then writing comparisons. This is going to be another great one, right? We write comparisons all the time: MailChimp versus HubSpot, to create this factual type of comparisons and data driven writing where you have very little information or no information is what we are going to learn tomorrow. Okay. And lastly, we're going to show you how you can generate tables and spreadsheets and create some amazingly creative stuff using AI on the fly. And the reason why I'm saying like spreadsheets and table is going to come in handy when you want to show expertise, right? An expert breaks things down, a very complex stuff, into a structure. They transform that data into a structure. Experts are able to do that. And we want you to be able to do that without being, well, not being like complete expert in it. Just an okay expert in it would be okay as well. But you'd be able to do this with prompt writing and break concepts like, hey, create me a busy planner for for attractions I can visit while I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on a day trip. It can create a planner for you based on factual information and things like that. So we'll learn this complex prompt styling tomorrow, and then we'll learn how to adjust your prompt and build confidence with writing prompts. It's an ongoing learning process. When you start writing a prompt, it doesn't give you what you want. Don't go and curse out the AI. It only knows what's out there. So I would start evaluating the prompt that you have written and restructuring it, and evaluating it till you get what you want. Then eventually mastering the art of creating this prompt. So that's what we will learn in tomorrow's session. And I'll open this up. We can take questions.
Awesome. I agree. The comments here absolutely amazing. There's so many people dropping their pro tips and the, like, recommendations with things that can be done, and I try to highlight all of them throughout the session here, right there on the screen. So there's a question from Paul, and he's asking about whether in outranking, so basically to make sure that outranking output passes the AI detector.
Yeah, the answer to that would be the only thing that you need to be concerned about is creating value with content and not passing it with AI detection. Um, you know how that is. Like if it's a very general topic or a general writing part of your section, it will be more prone to be AI detected versus what's something that has more facts and some structure to it, right? Like are less detected to it. So it's very easy to trick an AI detector. So I'm not even looking into that. What I am what I really want everyone to use outranking for is creating some amazing type of content and more using some of the more complex prompts as well. But creating factual, data oriented research content is it should be the underlying factor when it comes to SEO content. If everyone is just trying to pass AI detection, then they are doing bare minimum that would even live up to a decent type of content at all. For people who are doing things in the right manner, AI detection wouldn't really matter. So what I'm suggesting with that is that learn whatever tool you use, right? Like it doesn't really matter. Learn how to give it active feedback in any form that the tool uses, but to give you really good information, data oriented information that users can cherish, read, and feel satisfied when they leave. If you're doing all of that, then AI detect or don't detect doesn't really matter. That's the fundamental behind it, and we're aiming to help you do this with prompt writing using whatever tool you use. Outranking comes with some additional capabilities, and we'll show that tomorrow in the launch. But you can use that either of the products and do some really effective writing, no matter what tool you use.
Awesome. How can we give the AI more authoritative information, like from a book or a website, to use as a data source?
That's the trick part, right? Like that's what we want to teach you with tomorrow's session. Is this requires a very good understanding of how you figure out the research. So think about this. You're writing about, and I'm just gonna pick a very ridiculous type of topic, but let's say you're writing about top 10 reasons for divorce, and you want to look at only websites with some law association or some good information about the laws around this, right? And you want to now go find the information related to just that from this entire website or from this entire book or whatever that you're writing, right? You're going to have to do insert the book or insert the website to find that information, grab it, curate the best list of information that you have, and then figure out how to write around it, right? So you can ask GPT-3 or like Chat GPT right now and to do this, provided you have that background research. Otherwise, it cannot give you that. That's the limitation of GPT-3. It cannot go and read sources outside of what it's already in its brain unless you give it explicitly. But it's different with outranking. And we'll show how you can do this tomorrow with outranking, provided you can feed it tons and tons of data, right? Like hundreds and hundreds of pages, and it can read through that and create content from that. Okay. Any other
Travis
questions?
says he'd like to get a list of prompts that we suggest or like templates. Yes, the blog post is going to be published today or tomorrow and will be shared with everyone who registered as well.
Absolutely, and it's categorically described for every type of use case for SEO or for any type of web content writing, right? Like all the prompts that we have designed will be there, so you can take it, copy, paste, personalize, and do whatever you want with it.
Will you integrate outranking with ChatGPT to produce factual information using chat?
Actually integrated semantic search and factual writing even before ChatGPT was there. But we're using underlying DaVinci 3, right? What we're launching tomorrow is something a little more advanced and conversational format of this, where you can interact with web information and do creative writing using prompts. And it's a very brand new concept. So we'll demonstrate this tomorrow along with all the advanced stuff that you can do with it. So even if you don't have outranking, right, like you're not going to lose out on anything. It's going to be tons of value added tomorrow around that.
Is it possible to create our own methods? So, outranking, we have methods. So, for example, a particular template for writing sales copy or sales emails.
That's what I'm trying to get to, right? Templates are a great way for doing something so repetitive, right? And we are SEO content writing tools, so we're not going to do emails and we're not going to do all the other things around AI. We want to stick to SEO content because it requires a certain sets of other things and data that you need in order to build this content out. So we'd stay with that, but where we're going tomorrow is the conversational nature of research gathering and creating content using this conversational prompts, right? So you can literally save this prompts and templates wherever you'd like and use it again and again, however you want it, with little tweaks here and there in a conversational way. And it'll still give you exactly what you want. Some people have some creative ideas of how to use ChatGPT, and I tell you that some of these things are like probably not doable or not doable properly at the moment. Like, for example, David asked, like, has there been any reverse engineering of prompts engineering, like feeding ChatGPT a high valued article and asking it to suggest a prompt? So no. Imagine the nuances of writing and understanding an entire article. Starts with introduction, break down the introduction into hook, into statistics, evidence, lead, and talking about what's coming up next, right? And then you get into the next section, which could be argumentation, which could be compare and contrast. Like, understanding the nuances of this and coming up with a prompt would probably be how long? I don't know, right? Like, it's, you don't want to do that. Instead of that, what AI is really great is short forms, right? Modular writings, right? So you'd want to go as far as a section, feed it enough information so it can build out amazing sections, but not the whole content. Right? That's not how you'd want to use it. Or it's effective, like no AI is going to be effective at something like that, of reading that much content.
I see more questions, and there are more about the same thing. Come back tomorrow. And by the way, tomorrow it's going to be the same link, same place, same time, tomorrow in 23 hours.
Sounds good. Okay.
Awesome.
Any other
Thanks,
questions?
everyone. This has been super exciting. Next time, maybe tomorrow, I would love to have you join and just raise your hand. I'll bring you to the stage if you feel extra brave, and we'll just create a conversation, not just in the chat, but also live, talking.
And we'll do tons of demonstration tomorrow too. I know many people wanted to see that. So we'll do tons of demonstration tomorrow, understand how we get beyond some of the limitations of ChatGPT.
Especially with all the chatting with ChatGPT, I think it feels good to chat with a real person. So be prepared, bring your cameras, bring your microphones. We'll talk tomorrow more. Thanks a lot, everyone. It's been super fun. I'm going to leave this room open for another 23 hours. Then we'll do the session. Please don't spam it in the chat, because I know that a couple of people actually reported. Okay, you think that you're doing the service to yourself or to someone else, but no, people report, and so I removed some of the comments. So please do be mindful. We're happy just to pass on the expertise. And so many people have passed the expertise, and super excited. Keep doing that. The chat is open, so you can post in here, and we'll talk again in 23 hours. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, guys. Bye.